Hi everybody, my name is Rob Scott from UC Today, and today's session is delivered in partnership with RingCentral. In this session, I'll be speaking to Andy Conolly, IT Service and Operations Manager at Costa Express, about how he and his team enabled remote working for the organization and why RingCentral was the best fit for their business needs. So welcome, Andy. Nice to see you.
Thanks. Nice to see you too.
Thanks for joining me today. I'm really interested to hear about how Costa Express deployed RingCentral technology, but I think that the best place to get started would be an introduction, first of all. So can you tell me a little bit about who you are, what you do for Costa?
Sure. So my name's Andy Conolly. I'm the IT Service and Operations Manager for Costa Express. Costa Express is the Costa Express machine arm of Costa Coffee. So I'm sure all of you have been and used our retail stores around the country. Costa Express have our machines in petrol stations, in hospitals, and other areas around the country, and we look after and maintain and deploy those machines internationally.
Thanks, Andy. And I just want to cast your mind back to last year's deployment of RingCentral technology. Could you tell us about that kind of that buying journey initially, kind of in terms of, what were the business challenges that you were facing around your communications and collaboration infrastructure?
Sure. So it started almost exactly a year ago when I joined, and I walked straight into a conversation around the necessity and need to move from a traditional analog-based phone system to something that was a bit more resilient. We were in conversations with another provider that wasn't a cloud-based solution, and because I've worked with other cloud-based solutions in the past, my advice was, let's find something that allows us to work anywhere in the world without having to use VPNs, without having to worry about hardware, finding something that can just work and be simple, but also be really flexible and global. That's when we were introduced to RingCentral. Immediately from day one, it was obvious that this was the solution that offered us the most flexibility and scalability for our business as we grow internationally, really. I think that the buy-in side, it was relatively easy when you see how scalable the solution is in real life.
So Andy, tell me about what was important to the business and your strategy.
So we needed to find a solution that enabled us to scale globally quite quickly, but also to be flexible in how we use the technology. As I mentioned previously, we had a traditional phone system that had physical handsets on desks, and we've had issues in our office before where, for example, during the heavy rains, the roof leaked, resulting in us having to switch the power from the building. And with our previous phone system, we couldn't operate. We couldn't take and receive calls. We couldn't update the phone system to inform our customers that we couldn't take or receive calls. So that was a real consideration for us to enable us to be able to work remotely quite quickly and easily.
Great stuff. And when I look at kind of UC technology nowadays, I kind of break it down into kind of really three categories: kind of users, teams, and customers. Was the approach that you took really focused around one of those, two of those, or all of those?
I think it was a combination of everything. We wanted to be able to give our users the flexibility to work wherever they needed to work, because I think the days of being able to just stock a contact center all in one building, all with physical handsets, but those days have gone. We need to be able to be flexible with how we work with our employees, but also our customers. We need to make sure that no matter what happens to us as a business, we can continue to offer that same high-level service to our customers, no matter what happens.
Great stuff. In terms of the deployment, what was the impact like on those teams, those users, now using a cloud-based solution like RingCentral?
So the impact was, it's easy to say, and it's probably harder for people to believe, but it was almost none. We did a lot of training beforehand to make sure people knew how to use the system. Again, moving from a physical handset methodology to using soft phones is a bit of a challenge, a bit of a change. But I remember vividly the day we went live, it all just worked. I mean, we had RingCentral with us. We had probably about 6 or 7 of them on site with us the day we went live. And there was almost this trepidation that we were expecting this big bang or something to happen. But we were just sat there, and it was we started at about 7 o'clock in the morning. And then by about 10, 11 o'clock, it dawned on us that the thing that we thought was going to happen or just go wrong didn't happen, didn't go wrong. It was incredibly smooth, and everything just worked, which was a huge relief for myself, considering how big a project this was for me. But for the business as a whole, it just proved how all the preparation and all of the work leading up to the go live really paid off.
Fantastic. So you connected your users, you've got collaboration in there, I take it, as well, and you've got a contact center in there. So in terms of the customer experience, I was interested to kind of just hear around the contact center and how that may have changed for the agents or the users in the contact center. How did that go?
So it went really well. I think initially, I think some of our team are a bit more resistant to change, a bit more settled in their ways. They want to do things the way they've done things before. But when they started to realize the flexibility that this technology brings them, it's helped massively. And a great example of this is every year as a business, we have a conference where we bring all of our employees together in one central location to celebrate our success, to look to the future and understand how we're going to take our business and how we're going to help improve things for our customers and our consumers. And traditionally they're held off-site around the country. Last year it was in Wales, the year before that it was in Birmingham. We have not been able to bring our contact centre because it's held during the week. We've never had the technology to be able to bring our contact center with us. Well, this year was the first year we brought everyone with us. We set up a room within the conference center for our contact center. They all came down early in the morning, set themselves up, got their laptops all ready, joined the Wi-Fi, and they began to work as usual, just from a different location. And that's the first time in, I'd like to say, probably about 10 years, we've been able to get everyone from the business all in one location ever. And from a morale perspective, it was just incredible. The feedback we got was overwhelming. And yeah, it's just a real indication of how we're moving forward as a business and how the technology is allowing us to keep everyone in the business engaged.
Great. I mean, that's a great use case, isn't it, for this technology? In terms of connecting people, was that part of your strategy from the get-go in terms of connecting more people in the organization? Absolutely,
yeah. I mean, it's one of the challenges we've got as a business is trying to find a single way to communicate with each other. And I'll be honest, there is no one single tool that you can find out that does everything. But trying to reduce the number of tools is the key factor. When I joined, we had Teams, WebEx, we had conference call capabilities, we all have mobile phones, and slowly we're starting to narrow down those options down to just 1 or 2. And that makes it easier to collaborate with people, and also means you don't have to worry about which tool to check and which piece of software to download to be able to have a conversation with someone.
Yeah, great. So you've really consolidated a lot of those applications and tools in the business, ultimately. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Super. What about integrations? Did you manage to integrate any of your critical systems, applications in with the RingCentral solution?
Yes, so we've actually put some automation in place within the last few months. We have a stock system for our partners who, whenever they run out of stock on site, they would phone up our contact center and they would have a conversation with one of our agents, which would basically be along the lines of, when am I going to get some more coffee beans? Can I order some more stock? And those conversations are very repetitive. And after some analysis, we realized you don't really need to be speaking to a human being for about 50 to 60% of those conversations. So working with RingCentral, we put in some automation using their IVR system, and that's integrated into our stock management tool, so that now when you ring through to our contact center, before you get through to an agent, you're given the ability to enter in your site ID, and the automation will tell that customer exactly what stock is arriving and when it's going to be arriving. And as I said previously, that constitutes quite a large percentage of our telephone calls. So now our consumers are able to actually get the information they need 24 hours a day without having to speak to an agent, and it frees up our time to be able to do other things for our customers.
That's really, really good. And are you uncovering even more ways of kind of using the RingCentral technology as months go on?
Yes, in fact, we've had a conversation in the last couple of days that because of the current situation with COVID-19, we're all working as remotely as we can. We would normally do a huddle each week within the business, and we would record that, and then we would upload that for people to see. But we're now looking at parts of the RingCentral repertoire. For example, we're looking at the webinar solution to enable us to talk to our business as seamlessly as possible, but also allow them to interact with us. So the functionality to be able to put polls out there for people to ask questions, but not also to avoid the disruption that you get with other solutions of a similar caliber, where if you've got 200 people joining into a conference call, the last thing you need is that bing bong noise and people joining in, not muting. The RingCentral solution allows you to manage all of that without any overhead or hassle, and it makes it really simple for people that are less technical to understand and operate.
Wow, so you really are taking full advantage of that platform and its capabilities.
Yes.
And I do appreciate you recording this from home today. We are still right in the middle of the pandemic, aren't we? So
yes.
Let's talk about overall impact on the business and ROI. I mean, how has the business measured return on investment? I mean, it sounds like they've had so many benefits from this, but I mean, we're now almost a year on from the deployment, and you're still gleaning, value from the platform and the technology. How's the business looking at this?
Well, it was one of the highlights as I mentioned previously about our conference. It was one of the highlights at our conference in terms of what it's the hard benefits and the soft benefits that we realised as a business. So if I try and talk a little bit about some of the hard benefits, other phone systems we were looking at required the purchase of physical handsets and the maintenance of networking equipment as well. Well, we've been able to get rid of all of that. So we saved ourselves tens of thousands of pounds by not having to buy expensive phones to go on people's desks. Now, we chose to purchase laptops for all of our agents to give them that flexibility instead. And we've also managed to, the overall monthly costs that we're paying to implement this system are comparable to what we were paying previously. So not only are we not spending more money, but we've got a more flexible solution in place that enables us to do more. And in terms of the soft benefits, our teams are able to work wherever they need to work, be it remotely, be it abroad. We can scale up the solution within minutes. We had a free coffee day last year, which was an incredibly interesting endeavor for us, where we decided to make all of our machines free and give away as many drinks as people wished to take from our machines. Now, the demand for that was unprecedented. We would normally receive about 700 to 800 phone calls a day. We received 3,500 phone calls on that day. And because of the scalability within RingCentral, we were able to train and onboard another 20 members of staff. When they came in the morning, they didn't know they were going to be on the phones, but we trained them up, and honestly, it took us 15 minutes to get them set up, trained, and on the phones. And that's sort of scalability. We've just never had that. We've never had that ability to onboard people that fast. And that just goes to show that when we need to, we can do that thanks to RingCentral.
Great stuff. And my final question, Andy, for you is, what's your top bit of advice you would give someone looking at rolling out a similar solution? What would you say stands out as the kind of number one thing to consider?
It's going to sound a bit cheesy, but I would say trust in the advice and guidance that the implementation team at RingCentral are going to give you. And I'll tell you why. When we were first looking at putting this solution in, the reluctance to move to a soft phone only solution was quite strong within the business. We've always had physical handsets. That reliance of just being able to have something you can touch and pick up and just use. It's that comfortability of just going with what you know, but making maybe a slight change to the back-end infrastructure. The RingCentral team were quite strong in insisting that we move towards a soft phone only solution. And if we hadn't have done that, we wouldn't be working as well as we're working right now. We wouldn't have been able to be as flexible with our conference, and it was the right decision to make. So trusting in the advice and guidance that they were giving us right from day one has paid off enormously.
Hey, brilliant. So Andy, it's been great speaking to you today. You've shared some fantastic insights in the world of Costa and your partnership with RingCentral. So thank you for your time. Thanks to our sponsor, RingCentral, and all our viewers watching. If you've enjoyed today's session, we'd really appreciate a like or a share, but we'll see you again soon.